You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Michael Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
To the WBT, this is Michael Lodge. Thanks for joining me. It's Saturday. How many of you are just sitting by the poolside with a Coke or a cup of coffee, reading a book? I hope you're enjoying this day because it's a great day. Our conversation, which I hate to have, is going to be about holding Nancy Pelosi accountable for treason and the coup. I'll be right back.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
So over the past weeks and months, we have been sitting in our homes and we have been listening to members of the Democratic Congress try to lay out a scheme of corruption by the president, but they have failed. To this date, they don't have any crime, they don't have any constitutional issue that can show that President Trump has done anything that deserves impeachment. It's a very dangerous tightrope that they are walking. You have Nancy Pelosi, who went to the Judiciary Committee and said, write your articles of impeachment without hearing any testimony, looking at no evidence, not examining the laws that would justify impeachment. But the whole main goal is not to impeach, but to attack the government of the United States, attack the Constitution of the United States, attack the laws that protect every person in this land for a fair trial, for a legal judicial system that protects us while there's accusations out there. Now, I say a coup because if you look at the definition of a coup, it says that it is a sudden, sometimes a violent, and it's an illegal seizure of the power from a government. If you look at the arguments that the Democrats have made, without any evidence, without any documentation, without any testimony that supports any type of breaking of a law, they are trying to illegally seize the power, the office of the President of the United States. Sometimes they describe it as a sudden, decisive exercise in force in politics, especially in politics. So they're trying to force the President out of office without any type of charge, without any type of proof, without any type of fairness. Treason is described as a betrayal of trust. In a legal sense, the term refers to the commission of overt acts to overthrow one's own government or to consciously and intentionally aid an enemy of the nation. The crime of treason is addressed in Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution. Though its definition today is somewhat more broad, to explore this concept, you and I need to examine what the Democrats are trying to do, and we need to hold them accountable for this, because they want to put the Constitution to the side. Now, they are saying that they're defending the Constitution of the United States, but they are not. They are defending a political act, not a legal act. And that's where we get to the trickiness of the Democrats, and why it is a coup of what they're trying to do, and why it is treason of what Nancy Pelosi is trying to do. There's a whole bunch of words that define what treason is. A betrayal of trust or confidence, a breach of faith, trechery, a violation of one's allegiance to one's government or sovereign, the criminal offense of acting to overthrow one's government or assisting others to do so. And we've seen this. We have evidence that shows that within the CIA and the FBI, we have had individuals who were trying to overthrow the President of the United States. And it didn't work there, so then Congress came aboard. And from day one until now of the President's service to this nation, the Democrats have said they are going to impeach this president based on nothing. Even Representative Green said, even if he gets reelected, we are going to try and impeach him on every single thing that he does. That is not in support of the Constitution, because they refuse to allow the president to do his job under the Constitution. So they are trying to overthrow him by making you and I believe that they're doing a constitutional act. Well, they're not. Because if you look at the Sixth Amendment, they're not allowing the president any of his rights under the Constitution. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the rights of criminal defendants, including the right to a public trial without necessary delay, the right to an attorney, the right to an impartial jury. Definitely the Democratic Congress is not an impartial jury. They can't even get a Republican to vote with them. It is not impartial. And the right to know who your accusers are and the nature of the charges and evidence against you. It has been most visibly tested in a series of cases involving terrorism, but much more often figures in cases that involve, for example, jury selection or the protection of witnesses, including victims of sex crimes, as well as witnesses in need of protection from retaliation. But it's also included to every single one of us that we get a fair trial, and we know who our accusers are, and we're able to cross-examine them. But when you have Adam Schiff, who is playing very dirty tricks and putting in phone records that no one knew anything about of various members of Congress, various people in the White House or associated with the White House, that's not fair, nor is it balanced. And why put him in a document from Congress if you don't even know what the conversations are or what the phone logs tell us of those conversations? It might have been somebody calling up saying, hey, come on, let's go for lunch. This is not a fair hearing. It's not a fair trial. And it is certainly not constitutional. As noted, the provisions of the Bill of Rights now applicable to the states contain basic guarantees of a fair trial, right to counsel, right to a speedy and public trial, right to be free from use of unlawfully seized evidence and unlawfully obtained confessions and the like. But this does not exhaust the requirements of fairness. Due process of law requires that the proceedings shall be fair, but fairness is relative, not an absolute concept. What is fair is one set of circumstances may be an act of tyranny in others. Conversely, as applied to a criminal trial, denial of due process is a failure to observe the fundamental fairness essential to the very concept of justice. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from this whole incident of treason, of a coup against the office of the president, of the ability for Americans to elect the person that they want to serve as president is being dismissed by the Democrats in Congress. If they had a case, they would show us in writing what laws have been broken, what the evidence is, but they have not done that. Those 4 attorneys that appeared before the Judiciary Committee last week have not seen any evidence. They have not heard any testimony from the Judiciary Committee. They have not examined any witnesses. They have not looked at the detailed evidence that may be there or that may be presented. So what you have are 3 biased attorneys presenting what they believe is an impeachable offense, but they have seen nothing. They have seen no evidence. How can you make an opinion if you have reviewed nothing that the Judiciary Committee... What has happened in the Shift Committee doesn't matter. It's what is being presented to the Judiciary Committee, the evidence. Now they want to draft articles of impeachment based on nothing. They have not held a fair trial. And I applaud the president for not sending his attorney there because it is a biased trial. It is one-sided. It's unfair. It's unconstitutional. As Americans, we have to hold these politicians accountable for what they're doing because it is totally unlawful and totally not by the rule of law. Can you imagine if the Democrats get away with this, will it then flow down to the other legal systems in our government, where hearsay witnesses are now concluded as fact? They keep saying they have these factual witnesses, but none of them are factual because none of them were there. They are going by hearsay, what they've heard other people say. So let's say you and I were in court, and the district attorney says, listen, I'm presenting John as a witness. He's a factual witness. And when that factual witness gets up to the box where he's going to be questioned, Everything that he says is hearsay. I heard this person say that. I heard that person say that. But he has no actual knowledge of what actually was done or actually was said. And that's where we get into trouble. If it flows down into the lower courts where hearsay now is a part of evidence, you and I don't have a chance. Not one single chance. And that's where it's headed. If we allow Congress to do this, to attack the Constitution, the foundation of our whole legal system. You see, this is how I see it. Congress has the responsibility to create bills that go into law based upon the constitutionality of it. That's what they do. Every bill that they do, they have to compare it to the Constitution. Is it constitutionality? Is it constitutional, I mean? And that's where we have a problem right now, because what they are doing is not following the Constitution, even though they have the responsibility to write the laws of this land. So they need to be held accountable to the Constitution. And we go back to the words of treason and a coup. Because that is what they are trying to do, is overthrow a president without any legal standing. I would hate it if you and I, we were in court someday and the arguments were being made, but the other side had no legal standing, but yet the judge accepted their remarks because even though it has nothing to do with the rule of law, but it's their political sense or their so-called moral sense that what you did was wrong, and the judge sides with them without the basis of law, then you and I, we're screwed up. Democrats, let me tell you, if you're going to vote yes on impeachment based upon nothing, just because Nancy Pelosi has so much hate for the president, then you are disregarding the Constitution of the United States and the rule of law. Don't expect to be voted back into office based upon your yes vote to conduct a coup against the American people and the President of the United States. You have no argument. You have nothing to say that can convince the American people at this moment that the president should be overthrown. You have no argument because you have not complied with the Constitution or the rule of law. That is the problem. And now you are trying to put visible constraints against the presidential power so that he can't even conduct foreign relations with other nations. Again, you go against the Constitution where the President of the United States has the legal right to set in motion foreign policy. But you don't like it. So now you're trying to overthrow him. Hate is not law. Nancy Pelosi's hate for the president does not create a justified reason to overthrow, to conduct a coup, to commit treason against the United States and the President of the United States. There's nothing there. So next week we go back into hearing mode. And they're drafting the articles of impeachment, which is a coup, which is treason. And don't think it is not. because they have not followed the rule of law. That's enough for today. But I want each and every single one of you, I want you to go and I want you to read Article 6 of the Bill of Rights. I want you to understand them. I want you to know them. I want you to listen to the arguments that the Democrats are making, and you will find that it is not in compliance with the Constitution. I then want you to go and I want you to look up the very definition of treason and a coup. I want you to know that very well. And then I want you to watch how the Democrats under Nancy Pelosi will connive and twist words and abandon the rule of law. Impeachment is a serious offense, so you better have something in good standing with the law in order to do it. Otherwise, you're operating a sham that is a coup, that is treason to the United States. This is Mike Lodge. I'll talk with you soon.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.